what should you be getting out of this webinar today? I think that's our most important question we're going to ask ourselves as we go forward on this little journey today. We're going to talk a little bit about some of our common data frustrations. So what's got us a little frazzled when it comes to the InterAction CRM world? What is data quality 2.0 and why are we calling it that? So how is this all going to kind of apply to me as a user of InterAction in my world as we go forward? What can I do at my firm to help out and get things going and get data quality 2.0 involved in my firm and get the immediate impact from it? And along with that, we're going to talk about some data quality best practices. What are we using to clean up our data today, and how are we making sure it's accurate, up to date, and we're getting the best bang for our buck out of our CRM system and turning it back over to our end users? And then lastly, bringing the fun back into your CRM data. A lot of the tools and procedures we're going to talk about today are really designed to get out of what we've commonly seen in a lot of groups I work with, and even myself as I do a lot of my data admin projects and whatnot, if things start to get stale after a while or boring, and we want to kind of revitalize not only what our data is doing, but also what we're doing from a data manager perspective. So what are some of those great next steps that we can use to get us to that next level? What are some of our common data quality frustrations? I think if I were to poll everybody on this phone and say, hey, what's wrong with your database today, it'd probably either come in as one of two things. I got too many duplicates in my system, or the data is just bad. And what does bad data ultimately mean? Well, it takes on a couple of different perceptions depending on how you're looking at it. The first is incomplete data. You know, I've got a lot of contacts in my database, Chris, and when I go to look at them, it's just a name. I don't have a job title. I don't have a company. I don't have a phone number, email address. I have nothing. So is this contact really important to me, and why the heck do I have it in my CRM database today? Maybe the data is wrong. You know, you've probably heard our sales pitch over the last 20 years of interface software and InterAction and LexisNexis and all the different combinations thereof, but it always comes back to, I've got this attorney. They tried to reach out to a client of theirs. They called them up, and the phone is dead. Or the email address got bounced back. Or we did this major invite to our 100th anniversary of our firm being in creation, and only 20 people were replied because the other 80 that we invited didn't get it. Or maybe this data is just stale. You know, I've got a contact that's been in my database for 10 years, and I have no idea what's going on with them. Maybe they're in the same company, but maybe they've changed jobs. Maybe they've switched jobs. What's going on with it, and what can I do to kind of help alleviate that? And then what is going on in our daily lives as it pertains to CRM management that is holding us back? Lack of time. You know, we don't have time to clean up our data anymore because we've got 10,000 different things. We're all wearing different hats. We just can't seem to get above water. I mean, there's always that scary comment that I always hear with lots of clients I work with is, I've got 26,000 DCM tickets in my DCM inbox, and I have no idea what to do with them, and I just want to set them all as complete and start from scratch. I do not recommend that on this call, and if you go back and re-listen to this webinar, I want it on the record, it says do not set all your DCM records to complete. Some maybe, but not all of them. You also don't have time to do a lot of research. So that time it takes to go out there and make sure that person still works at that company, checking out their LinkedIn page, Google is our best friend. We just don't have as much time as we used to do a lot of that, but we still want to provide value to our end users. And time to do other things. You know, as we try to get our new marketing campaigns out, or maybe we have a new business development initiative to gather information about our clients and maybe target things a little bit better for this year, I don't have the time because I'm too busy cleaning up the ones and zeros of our database. So let's figure out what we can do. And that brings us to what is data quality 2.0. Well, what data quality 2.0 is, it's a set of new data quality best practices utilizing both over 20 years of experience as a collective organization, and then even more years of experience beyond that if you start to pick it apart by individual, and bringing that all together from all the things we've heard about from our clients and even prospects we've talked to when they're evaluating us versus other systems and choose to go with us because of the experiences there, but also utilizing our products that we have that have come out over the last couple of years to help pseudo-automate, clean up, standardize, and anything else we can do to make our data quality lives a little bit easier. And that brings us around to our IQ data. So IQ is our ERM product that helps to go out and review our Exchange mailboxes and gather a wealth of information with regards to things such as signatures on our emails, parsing that data out and actually utilizing it and putting it back into InterAction. Data Miner, one of our more recent applications, that initially was IQ specific, but now actually encompasses a lot more of the core product. But what Data Miner does is it helps us standardize information. Again, if I were to ask for a show of hands on the phone, how many have spent too many days and nights standardizing and using find and replace for things like street, SC period versus street spelled out, you know, whatever your data standards happen to be for your firm. I know I have, and it's entertaining for about the first few thousand, but after that, you're kind of like, why am I doing this by hand or using the find and replace? You know, Data Miner is one of those products we're building to help alleviate that. So we're going to talk about some best practices around that and how that can really kind of, you can utilize it at your firm to the best of your abilities. Prioritize data management queries. These have been out for a while. They were a services offering. Now they're part of our IQ implementation processes as well. But there are duplicate searches that we can use to more effectively manage our duplicate records. Now, we all know if I've got 20,000 duplicates in our system and I don't have time to clean up 20,000, where do I want to focus? Maybe it's I want to focus on our send out communications folder so that I have got everybody merged in that folder before I send out my next event. Or maybe it's managing that event against the firm list to make sure everybody is deduped and organized to the best of our abilities before that mailing goes out. And then last but not least, using the DCM by contact view. This has been around since 5.6 SB2, I believe, if not sooner. It's a great piece of the data change management inbox that it goes underutilized at a lot of firms for various reasons. We're going to talk about how we can use that to more effectively manage our DCM tickets, both in just the core data, but also what comes through from IQ and learning how to prioritize that IQ data over what we currently have in our database. And the goal of all this at the end of the day, and hopefully I'm talking about it as excitingly as possible, because if you can see through the phone right now, and this is why we need to add video to these things, my hair is on end and I'm really excited about this, is because we want to be more efficient at the end of the day. I talk to a lot of data managers and a lot of data stewards out there, and we talk about how much time they spend on DCM tickets every day, and you know, it's measured in hours and days, and I want to start talking about measuring things in minutes and seconds. Because we can utilize the information we have more effectively at the end of the day. You know, the old adage is I can process 15 to 20 tickets per hour. Well, now we should be talking in I can process 100 tickets per hour based on the information I have coming into our systems. So we're going to talk a little bit about these products and a little bit about their details and kind of how do we utilize them. So first off, I know we've got a mixed group of individuals who are attending our webinar today. Some of you have IQ, some of you are looking at IQ, some of you may have our other products out there like Wabbit. At the end of the day, regardless of what you're using or how the data is coming in that automated fashion, the logic is still the same. I'm bringing data in, I'm doing something with it, and I ultimately want to get it out to my end users so they can use it as effectively as possible. So what is IQ Signature Capture? Well, IQ Signature Capture is part of our IQ product where, again, it goes through and it looks at your Exchange server and it looks at your emails and it looks for those signature blocks within those emails and throws everything else out. The first question that always comes up is, oh no, is it reading my emails and telling me when I've accidentally emailed the person I've been asking for a job from and it's going to tell my boss about this? No, we don't do that. That would be a great company to build, but we're not in that business today. We merely are just looking at what's coming through. And so, for example, here on the upper left-hand corner of the screen is my signature block. The right-hand side, as the arrows are pointing out, is where we parsed out the data from this. Now, in this case, I've got my middle name in our database, but we also parse out things such as first name, last name, our job title, mobile phones, and I'll go into more details about all the fields that we parse out. But ideally, at the end of the day, whether we're creating new contacts or we're parsing out and updating existing ones, we're looking at what that signature block is. We're storing what we can in InterAction into an additional field that's visible for all Windows client users to see. So if you ever have questions about the IQ data, and we'll go over this a few more times, you can always go back and double check it. But at the end of the day, it's what have I been missing, what have I been updating, and what can really be of value to me going forward. So what are we capturing as part of IQ? And again, this is what we're capturing today. We're going to go through as part of some of the frequently asked questions a little bit later on in the presentation. You know, are we going to bring in web addresses? What else are we going to bring in from the IQ perspective? And right now, product management is working very diligently on improving the product quarter over quarter, release over release, and adding more things to our capture and our algorithms. So what you see today may be different next quarter upon the next IQ release. But to start things off, we capture first, middle, last name, and then as well as the suffix. So your juniors, your thirds, your esquires, all that fun stuff that people put out there, including things such as the CPAs and CFAs and things that we see with a lot of our financial services firms. We grab our company info, that job title and company information. Again, very important because at the end of the day, that blank contact, not knowing where they work or not knowing what they do anymore, that's not going to be that's hopefully a problem we're going to get rid of as we go forward and we utilize this information as much as possible. And then your basic contact information, business email, direct phone number, mobile phone, and your address parsed out. Right now, as far as IQ is concerned, we do not bring in things such as fax number and web address yet. And I say yet because I know through our ER Vine and stuff like that, that those are things that product management is looking to add and is also looking for feedback from our clients who have IQ of, if you could pick A or B, which would you want? Would you rather a fax number or some other new functionality as we go forward? So again, as clients, I always encourage everyone to be as vocal as possible. Where does the information go at the end of the day, though? We've parsed it out. I know it's going to get into the record somehow, but what happens to it? Well, since IQ is integrated very heavily with InterAction, it's all going through our InterAction tools that we have today at our disposal. So first off, if it's an existing contact and we're just merely updating it, it's going through our data change management process. And that's important because that's where most of the people who are probably on this call or have people that they work with that are on this call are spending the majority of their time cleaning up data and working with it. So as you can see here, I grabbed a couple of examples here from one of our live environments, blurred out the major contact information, but really wanted to focus on, you know, what are we updating, what are we seeing from our IQ signature captures? And so the first one on our screen here, this one kind of had me a little bit worried, but it's a good example of, hey, we've got stale data on our database or just completely incorrect data on our database with something as, in this case, Daryl Wright. We've got in our database today, Daryl, D-A-R-Y-L, but in his signature that we captured and pulled through, it's actually spelled D-A-R-R-Y-L. So I can only imagine how embarrassing that would be to one of our clients or even us as we send out invitations, for example, our webinars or events that we're hosting or whatnot, that we completely spelled someone's first name wrong. Now, I'm K-R-I-S. I go by Chris or Christopher. So yes, in various databases that I see myself in over the years, I don't worry about that too much from a misspelling perspective. But if you kind of left certain letters off in the middle, that might put a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth if I'm the client you're trying to reach out to. But then also, what's stale within our data? Pardon me. So Mr. David Jacobs here. We have him in our database as Senior Vice President, Post-Acute Care Division. Now, I'd love to see the business card that exists on just to see how he fits all that. But as we can see here, just based on a recent signature capture that we've pulled through, we also see that we've got a new job title for him. So we bring this information in, we submit it to our DCM box. The data change manager hopefully can make a quick decision about this based on what they're seeing and ultimately process that information through. And then if you've got your sync processes running where you've got changes being pushed down to your end users, whether they accept them automatically or they have to review them, hopefully at the end of the day, whoever has a nose relationship with Mr. David Jacobs is going to say, hey, wow, he's the president now. I should probably reach out to him because I still think he's a senior vice president, and that means he's gotten a promotion. We haven't talked for a while, and there's some opportunity there for some new business. Now, if any of you are familiar with our client engagement managers and whatnot in our group, David Jacobs is actually one of them. This, ironically enough, is not the same David Jacobs, so he does still work for us. This is a live database, so there's more than one of those guys out there. So just an FYI, keep an eye on that. There's a lot of Davids in the world. But where else does the information go? So depending on how you implement IQ, we've got a lot of different rules, but the rules follow your new contact rules that you have today in your configurations. So for those of you who are more intimately affiliated with the admin side of InterAction, we have what we call use it affirm sync. When you sync up new contacts to the database, you can choose to put them directly in the database, or you can choose to source them in a new contact review folder and review them before they're shared. Same thing is true about IQ. We can set things up to where we source them in the new contact review, and then subsequently link them into our IQ new contact review folder, keeping them out of the central collection if you want, until you're ready to review them and share them with the firm. And that's one of the great features about IQ is not only are we updating information, but we're also uncovering those new contacts that we may not have seen before. And I'm sure you're asking yourself, Chris, that's all well and good, but I don't want all this junk coming into my database. I just want the cool new contacts of maybe our prospects and clients. Well, I have good news for you. At the end of the day, we just don't throw stuff willy-nilly into your database. We've got a lot of good checks and balances that are involved with regards to creating new contacts, and some of those are things such as we have a minimum set of data requirements. You have to have a first name, last name, job title, company, and email address to even be considered worthy of going into our database. But also at the end of the day, you can set thresholds too. How many times do I have to communicate with someone to build up a score to then create them in our database? So as we're seeing here with these data examples, these are contacts that had to meet those thresholds just to begin with. So of course, the old adage of, oh my gosh, I don't want my dog walker in the database because that means that someone's going to see them and it's not relevant information. Well, the good news is unless your dog walker is has a really nice signature block that we can capture those 5 data points from, and you communicate with them enough to where we want to see that communication put in the system, you're generally okay. And if you're talking to your dog walker that often and they're that professional, you may want to share that number anyway with some of your colleagues because they probably would benefit from it anyway. So how can IQ help my firm at the end of the day? As a quick recap here, let's talk about what we've seen so far. You're creating new contacts and relationships. So we haven't talked about the scoring aspect of IQ, and that's going to be a different webinar. But we're seeing, like, how many times are you talking to an individual? How frequently are the emails versus the meetings versus the activities that you're logging in InterAction? And then from there, we're meeting those thresholds and subsequently creating those new contacts and also creating new nose relationships. So if I already exist in your database and someone such as Dwayne Eddy is continuously emailing me all the time and saying, hey, Chris, I want to talk to you about XYZ, or I want to need your help on this litigation piece, those relationships are getting built where maybe they previously didn't exist. We're updating that existing incorrect data and that stale data. So as you can see here, with these signatures that we're bringing in, what's a better source than the information I'm sending you or your clients are sending you back within their own emails as far as those signature captures are concerned? So when you get that information from the source, it's not only accurate, it's up to date. We'll talk about it a little bit later, and clients always ask me this is, well, what are you guys checking LinkedIn, or what are we comparing this IQ data to? Well, do I really need to compare it to LinkedIn at the end of the day if I just received the email yesterday from them and I've brought their signature in and I can see where they work and their information? Now, if they're switching jobs that quickly, odds are they're probably not even updating their LinkedIn page that fast anyway. But again, relying on the source is the most accurate way we can get that information into the database. And ultimately, for those of you who are stuck with thousands of DCM tickets, and one of my favorite stories is we had a client last year that had over 70,000 DCM tickets, and they used IQ data to help clean it up in a measurement of days, not years. We're decreasing your DCM processing time here. Is that look at the IQ data, see what it is, see what we brought in, compare it to the tickets, and move through them quickly. I'm hopefully going to save you a few Google clicks and a few LinkedIn searches and a few other searches, unless you want to take it to that next level, which we'll talk about also as far as, you know, a value add back to our attorneys or our financial users or whoever else we're serving within our firm. So what are some of our best practices for IQ-assisted cleanup? So first things first, my recommendation with any client I work with, whether it be an implementation or they just give me a call or we do any other webinars like this with regards to data best practices, is prioritize your IQ data over other changes. I'm sure a lot of you have information that comes from attorneys and you're like, hey, do I pick their information or do I pick this other information? Well, pick your IQ data. If we have a phone number and they've got a different phone number, yes, there's probably an exception to every rule, but I'm going to go with the 80-20 on this, and I'm going to pick my IQ phone number over theirs because at least I know it's coming from the client that's sending me information. Use your by contact view. It's your best friend. We can process a lot more tickets, we can prioritize our tickets, and we can get through the information a lot quicker. And then utilize PDMQ to merge your IQ contacts into existing ones. So if we get a new contact that comes from IQ and maybe it didn't match up with one that existed in the database for whatever reason, or maybe it's a new job, but same person and same phone number, let's get those together and merged up, and therefore we can add that value quickly. And then find your additional value. Since we don't capture everything in the IQ signature, there might be other things that they've added to the signature that we pull through but maybe haven't parsed out. The Ever Faithful LinkedIn page. A lot of people are adding that link into the bottom of their signatures now. If we've got it in that additional field, why not copy and paste it and add it as a new website to the contact record? Therefore, you got one more touch point for them. So IQ Assisted Cleanup, as far as the comprehensive view or the by contact view, the great thing about this view is that it allows you to search for people and their corresponding tickets by folder, by saved search, however you want to break it out. So in this case, in this example, one of the first things I do at any admin project I do for a client or any IQ implementation is if whether I'm doing the cleanup or they are, I say, let's go in and filter out just everything that's linked into the IQ updated contacts folder. Now, for discussion purposes today, you don't need to know what that folder is or where it resides. It's where we put our updated contacts. But just that, I'm going to take the tens of thousands of tickets I may have, combined by X number of contacts, and I'm going to narrow it down to a couple hundred. And therefore, once I've got that, I can quickly look at, okay, I'm going to pick this first person. He's got 10 tickets. And I can say, I'm going to pick the IQ data. Yep, that makes sense. Real estate investment analyst versus director of real estate investments. Boom. Maybe I've got something else that came up that's not IQ brought in, but I can still say what I want to keep versus the other. In this case, my choice would have been keep the Lockheed Martin Investment Management Company because that's already a company they're associated to, versus maybe what my attorney said of, hey, here's Lockheed Martin. No, I'm going to go for more of a fully qualified name. Oh, and then look, oops, went too far. If I go down towards the bottom, I've got new addresses coming from them where I didn't have addresses before. Hopefully this is your slam dunk world of I've got information I didn't have before, let's grab it and throw it into the database. Another example as we go through here again, what information do I have? Do I want to keep? Do I want to prioritize over what's existing in InterAction today? We've got Michael Evans. He was in our database. We brought his information in. You can see here, this is what we captured. Name, job title, company that he works for, office number, email. We even tracked where the user inbox was that this email came from. So if you get into more advanced discussions about IQ with us, from a services side, we explain what these additional areas are, but you can always track it back to where did it come from. But again, I'm going to prioritize my chief operating officer over my executive vice president. We had 2 MGMs in our database, so we went towards, instead of the resorts one, we moved over to hospitality. And again, as you can see down here, phone number over the existing phone number, etc., as we walk through the examples. We also use PDMQ to help us grab our duplicate records and merge them together. One of my favorite PDMQ searches of all time that has come out in our recent releases, including our 4.2 release, is the by phone number one. A lot of things that we're seeing now is people go between jobs. They do take their mobile phone number with their a lot of the time. So how do I use that mobile phone number to my advantage? So for example here, we used our PDMQ search to look at the IQ folder as well as the firm people list. And we searched by mobile phone number along with all the phone numbers on the records. And we brought back some examples. So we've got Marta here, who was captured by IQ at Immediate Capital Group, but right now we've got her in our database as working for Greenhill. Well, guess what? I can look at the mobile phone number on her Greenhill one, and I can compare it to the mobile phone number on her Immediate Capital Group. So I only left you with the last 4 digits, so no cheating. But at the end of the day, I can now merge this individual together. That's going to do a lot of things for me. It's going to give new phone numbers, new addresses, new job titles, and a new place of employment, which is going to get pushed down to anybody who happens to know our original MARTA, or Neil Sinclair for that example. That is huge to our users. It's, wow, we've got brand new data we've never seen before. Staleness, gone. Now, is it 100% perfect? No. But already I can be showing the value to my users where if they see this, they're going to be incredibly ecstatic about what they saw. So frequently asked questions I get a lot about IQ. Will IQ solve all my problems? No, it's not. There's no product out there that can. But we strive to be 80% or better with our accuracy. And when we're not accurate, we always capture what we saw in the signature, put it in an additional information field, and therefore we can compare and contrast that information and add it in manually if we need to. And in general, it's still quicker than going out and doing the Google searches and looking for bio pages and everything else that goes along with it. Why is that bulldog so darn cute? I don't know. I have an obsession with dogs, and you'll probably see that as it goes through the rest of this presentation. But I enjoy feedback. If you think we should use a husky next time, let me know. But today we're going with cute bulldogs for the day. How much does IQ cost? Reach out to your account managers. If you don't have their information, reach out to us on this call. We'll make sure we get your account manager's information, and they can give you costs. They'll go over the licensing with you, as well as any services costs that go with it, and what's included in that, as well as any additional add-ons you may want to have. Do I need to upgrade to use IQ? Yes, I highly encourage you upgrade to the most recent version of InterAction to use IQ. We're going to talk about it with IQ, and we're also going to talk about it with DataMiner in a few moments. The more recent versions have the more recent information, as well as have better connections into your IQ core database and offer a lot more functionality, as well as simple stuff within the Windows client, such as being able to search for and see the user who created the IQ data and filtering stuff out. So even the simple things such as the Windows client has got even newer functionality we want to make sure that you're utilizing. What is DataMiner? I brought this up at the beginning of our call. We're going to go through it really quickly here. It's our data normalization tool. This tool is continuously running in the background. Anytime something comes in from IQ, comes in from user to firm sync with our most recent release, so this is that May-June release of the product, as well as things that are coming through your wizard, like the new contact wizard and whatnot. We're looking at basic pieces of information and standardizing it. So right now we look at street, job title, state, province, country, title as in your prefix title like Mr., Ms., etc. And we're adding more features to this product every day. When we brought this out in December, all we had was street and country. Now we're expanding upon that. I'll show you some of the configuration things. But this is a data normalization capture I grabbed from even our own database, where just in the process of running against our data, we were able to standardize over 12,000 street addresses, almost 7,000 job titles, a bunch of states and provinces, countries. We didn't have a lot of Mrs. and Mrs. or doctors in our database, so that's stayed at 0. But as this continues to run and I continue to bring in our IQ data, and we see this at clients also, these numbers continue to go up, and the great thing about it is it's saving you work. Say goodbye to those formatting tickets from DCM. If you've got hundreds of thousands of them now, going forward you won't have them anymore, and we'll work to outdate them or show you just a way to set them as complete as far as the existing ones you have today. So here's some rules that we put in place. These are just some examples, but it's very simple logic. You get the CEOs and C.E.Os in the world coming through. Let's go ahead and change them to Chief Executive Officer for you. I'm a big fan when I set up data practices and data standard practices for our clients that we spell everything out. I think it looks better on an invite. I think it looks better on a business card or anything else we may be using for communications. Why not save us a lot of time if we can? I know today I do a lot of find and replaces for clients who don't have DataMiner. This hopefully becomes something of the past. So what does it look like? So for example, here with our Fred Durham here, we had a job title change. And as that job title change came in his signature, it came through as CEO. Well, as it hit the DCM inbox, DataMiner took over and said, hey, I don't like CEO. I'm going to change it for you. So not only do we get a job title change ticket, we also got to change the Chief Executive Officer spelled out for us so I don't have to go in after the fact and fix it. Hooray! Less things we have to worry about. So some more frequently asked questions about DataMiner. Do I need IQ for DataMiner? No. with the current release of InterAction, you can run DataMiner against your core product. I recommend IQ because obviously in our previous parts of this presentation, there's a lot of information you could be missing out on. But at least if you want to use it in the basic core application, you still can do it. How accurate is it? DataMiner is only as accurate as the rules you put in place. So if you put CE in there and you want to change it to Chief Executive Officer, you got to make sure you've got your if, then, else stuff set up, and it's a really simple process. What are the fields that we standardize? We already talked about this, but we'll recap them here. Country, job title, state, province, street, and title. Will I still get DCM tickets? On certain things, yes. Your formatting tickets are going to start to go away because we're taking care of the formatting before it even hits your database. But things like we saw earlier where we did have a legitimate job title change that we still need to make a decision on, you're still going to get those tickets out there. What other things will DataMiner standardize in the future? Product management is looking for ideas and things that we want to standardize. Some of the ERs and stuff that I've even submitted myself and a lot of clients are backing are standardizing phone numbers, for example. Let's get those 10 digits for USA out there, and for our UK people, the +44 and then the extending digits after that. Let's get that in a normal, nice standardized format. And what's my obsession with cute dogs? If I'm on a project with you, go ahead and ask. If I'm not on a project with you, we'll talk about it later. But how can you say no to that face at the end of the day? So Dwayne, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, so we have a packaged solution from our services group for data quality 2.0. Over the last few months, one of the things we've been doing, at Lexus is reaching out more to our clients, through things like this webinar and through one-on-one meetings. There's a lot of things that we're finding as we talk to our customers is that we're not necessarily utilizing all the tools that you have and are not aware of some of the things that are coming out as the things that Chris was talking about. I've had examples of us talking to customers and they're not fully utilizing like FDA. So there's certain situations, certain reasons why a customer will get into the situation where they're not fully utilizing everything. Some of the resources that originally set it up have left and things like that. So those that are still there are not aware of some of these features. So as we talk to our customers, we're finding very simple updates and just pointing out certain features have been very helpful. I went to a firm in New York, and as we start to talk about tools like DataMiner and some of the automation tools that we've been adding, he was the CIO. He was so excited that we have more automation features and that he doesn't have to put bodies on some of these cleanup effort to be able to use those resources for other things. And so we're finding that, and we're finding even just small updates such as reducing the DCM tickets by adjusting your settings, right? A lot of times customers set that up from the beginning in a implementation and never touch them again. But we're advising our customers to go and review those periodically. Based on the data that you're getting, you could adjust those and you can turn those down. And a lot of our recommendations that we used to have changed, and it's going to reduce what you're doing. So we're trying to help everyone understand the tools that they already have and just make small adjustments. So the Data Quality 2.0 solution has several parts to it. We have a strategic assessment. So this is some of the things that our professional services group will sit down and look at your configuration in detail and look for those things that we can quickly and easily change. They'll also do SQL queries against your database to look at statistics, to point out data problems and where we can make adjustments to help with that. And also, as part of that is the white glove software implementation. So some of the tools that you've seen today, our services group they're experts at implementing that. So not just core interaction and making sure that's set up optimally, but installing IQ. And with IQ, you get our what we call PDMQ, or Prioritized Data Management Queries. And that helps you to focus your cleanup efforts on the more important contacts. And then installing Data Miner, right? All of that set up. So we can certainly help with that. And then our managed data services. So as you start to utilize CRM, and even years down the road after you implement it, data quality is always going to be an issue, and it's something that you have to focus on. We are also helping our customers to, with a boost, to get over the hump, to be able to clean up and administer your system so that you can get to a place where it's easier to maintain. So our services group will utilize these tools we've been talking about, but also we'll put bodies there to be able to help administer and do some of the data cleanup. So those things together make our data quality solution. Now we know this is a big problem. Data quality is always a big problem. If you look at it as one problem, you're going to be overwhelmed. So we're saying you need to have fun with it, right? Focus on what is important. Don't try to take the entire database and try to clean that up. There are things you can do to get quick and accurate value. If you take the data in small chunks, such as a practice group, start and clean up their data, show value, have them start to use it, and then they become your sounding board, and they can talk about the value that you're getting out of it with the other parts of the firm, and then you can roll it out more and more to different practice groups. Make a game of it. People love games. Look at how you can get users to contribute more, and your resources, your data storage, to make a game of how they clean up the data. And then really it's really valuable to show progress. Start with what the data used to look like and say, okay, after a month, this is what it looks like. We've done this, we've cleaned this up, we're getting this value out of the system. So there are things, we know it's overwhelming, but you can clean it up and you can get your data to a place that's valuable for your firm. There is hope. Okay, so I'm going to pass it back to our host, Kelly. She has some important information to share with you.
Thank you, Chris and Dwayne. That was really good information, and I'm sure that we have some questions. I see some already coming in, and so we're going to address your questions in a moment. I want to give you a little bit of time to submit them. Remember that you have a questions box in your GoToWebinar panel. And as you do that, I would just want to provide you with a couple of reminders. Links to everything that I'm going over right now will be included in the PowerPoint that will be in the webinar follow-up materials that you'll receive within about a week. And so first reminder is our annual Accelerate Business Development Summit. It is right around the corner, coming up June 26th to the 28th. Registration is still open until next Wednesday, the 21st. Join the brightest and best business development leaders at the award-winning Umstead Hotel and Spa in Cary, North Carolina. We hope to see you guys there. Also, you'll just want to give you a reminder, if you haven't started receiving our monthly newsletters, or if you're missing out on our monthly webinar invites, you can update your communication preferences at any time, and you can also pass the link on to other InterAction users at your firm. To give you an idea of what you will be able to subscribe to the newsletter, I'm including a link to the June newsletter and also a link to the upcoming change management webinar that is scheduled for next Wednesday. The newsletter, really what you'll get from that is you'll be able to stay current on tips and tricks, and you'll be able to learn best practices. Same thing really for the monthly webinars. So it's really some great information. So let me pass it back over to you guys. I see some questions that have come in. Let's see. So Chris, you want to go ahead and take a couple of those questions?
Oh, sure. Yeah. And one last thing before we go too far, as part of the slide deck that will be sent out, you'll also get a link to our previous webinar where we went through in a more in-depth process with PDMQ. I know a lot of people are probably, if you haven't used PDMQ, you're probably wondering what it was, and if you have, you're probably hoping I would dig a little bit more deeper into it. This web series or this existing webinar that we had put out previously, we actually used a live demo and actually spent time going through and actually merging duplicates and searching for them and stuff like that as part of it. So I encourage you to go ahead and click on that, and if you have some time, go ahead and review it. So as far as questions and answers here, a couple of different questions that came up, and I'll handle them in kind of order of I see them here. The first question was from Irene. Do we need IQ to use DataMinder? And the answer is no, as long as you are using the most recent release of InterAction. So the May/June release of InterAction, so there's actually a mid-quarter release, and then we've got our June one coming up in a couple weeks, I believe, if it's not already out. We do require that most recent 6.2 upgrade. And if you do have that, you can install DataMinder on one of your servers, like an application server or wherever, and have it run against the core database. Because there is a button, which I did not show, that allows you to just hit it and say, clean up my database right now, and it will go through and look at all your existing stuff and standardize whatever it can, and then it will continue to monitor your database as you go forward. So as contacts come in from user to firm sync or new contact rules or anything like that, or if you're using mobile and creating contacts there, it will review those and do the information update. So, so a couple other of you have asked me questions about, can you send me some information on that? What we'll do as part of this is we will gather some links and stuff like that from our support site and include that on the communications that go out, as well as contact information for myself and the services team, as well as if you don't have it, your client advisors or account managers, to ask them if they can set up a call between us and make sure we facilitate that also. Plus, at the end of the day, if you ever have any questions about the product or solutions, you can always reach out to our customer support team. They're fantastic, and they can even help you with, if you want to do DataMinder yourself, for example, they can help you get that set up on your own. Another question that came up was, do I have to have IQ in order to get PDMQ? And then also along the same vein as DataMinder. No, actually, we do offer PDMQ as a separate small package add-on to InterAction. So it does come with the 5 queries as well as best practices and how to use that, and the different information that comes along with it. So that is separate. I know there was a couple of questions here about, is there certain things I can do with my database today as far as data quality without IQ? And the answer is always going to be yes. Most of the data quality 2.0 stuff that we talked about today, such as using DataMinder and using PDMQ if you want to bring that into your fold, as well as using things like the comprehensive view just to process tickets quicker, are all things you can do today without IQ. IQ is just an added benefit of getting more accurate information quickly without having to spend a lot of time. And I do encourage you, if you don't have IQ today, then you're questioning whether or not there's value there. And this is not so much the sales pitch as the nerd in me talking of, see how long it takes you to process 10 tickets for a contact record with going out and doing a Google search and looking at LinkedIn and looking at their bio pages and what I always call, when I do admin services, going down the rabbit hole, and see what you can do as far as getting information that way versus if you would have maybe gotten it from a signature, how quickly that could have gone through. Let's see, I've got another question here from Denise. It's at the end of the day, what do I do with my contacts with no information? It sounds like I don't want to delete them. Or it sounds like I don't delete them. Yeah, so I work with a lot of different clients as far as their stale data or contacts they don't have. Feel free to reach out. I do recommend getting rid of contacts in your database if they serve no useful purpose anymore. If they're lame ducks, dead contacts, however you want to address it. I've worked with clients before. We use very simple save searches. We will go into your database. And I say we because you can do it as well as I can, but sometimes you want that extra added comfort level, and I don't mind helping people through that. Going out there looking for, say, all the contacts in your database that have no relationships. So the contact has no relationships on them. Maybe I don't need those anymore. And then we kind of slice and dice the searches based on what we think is important to the firm versus not important to the firm. So another common search, save search we'd like to do is, give me everyone who's got no relationships and no email address. Well, shoot, If I can't send my newsletters to them or invite them to events, even meet my people, and I don't know anybody that knows them, maybe it's time to clear them out of my database. When I do my data quality assessments or health checks for clients, some of my first recommendations is what I call the hack and slash method. Just go in there and get rid of the noise and focus on what's important. And that could be, again, IQ agnostic conversation. You may have an integration already today with your client system or something else. Use that information to help augment and tell you what's important. You know, there's no 100% right answer in any direction, but at the end of the day, you have control and you should be able to make your own decisions and delete what you want, unless you think there's a reason to keep it. And then we go through what we call archiving processes. It's called resourcing a contact into an archive folder. Therefore, it's out of the central collection, but I can always go back and reference it later if you want. And again, those are some more advanced data quality features we can even talk about on a future webinar, because I see some of the other questions that came up of what can I do that's not interaction related.
Great. Thank you so much, Chris and Dwayne. I think what's interesting to me is I think it's important to point out that what we call data quality 2.0, the solution, is really unique for each individual firm. Sometimes it's a matter of recommending training courses. For example, we have an Explorer series called Data Quality Strategies. For others, it's engaging with a professional services organization to do a check of the system and to be able to troubleshoot and determine things like what FDA's rules are being used, or to figure out if there are some ways to make things run better. In other cases, it's a matter of implementing IQ. It may be a matter of using the PDMQ searches you either already have or that are available to you. Or it could be upgrading to the newest version of InterAction so that you can use the data minder if you choose, for example, not to do IQ. So that's really what we want to make sure that we're doing for you, is that you get a chance to speak with your account manager and craft the right solution to make sure that you are really bringing your data into what we call data quality 2.0. So thank you so much for joining us. And as you exit, there'll be a quick survey that'll appear, and that would be really helpful if you could provide us feedback about the webinar. And also, you'll see that there's a question or two in there. If you'd like to get additional information, please do let us know. We would be happy to reach out to you and craft your Data Quality 2.0 solution. Thank you so much for joining, and have a great afternoon.